I'd like to thank the grace of heaven, the virtues of masters, and the mercy and compassion of the grand predecessors, senior transmitters, lecturers, temple masters, and everyone for giving me this opportunity to learn how to give talk about this chapter on the chapter 68 of the Classic of the Way and the Virtue, the Tao Te Ching. Okay, chapter 68. It's a relatively short chapter of the 60 series. Okay, it's one of the shorter ones. I think it may be one of the top 10 shortest chapter. Anyway, but okay. So the title, the heading, it's called Non-Contention. Okay, it's a short chapter, but it's a very important chapter, and it's also connects chapter 67, 69. Okay, all right. So the last week and also the next chapter that we're going to talk about, it all connects some of the main the main theme, which is non-contention, or you can say harmony or something like that. Okay, not yeah. All right. Okay. So it's only eight phrases divided into two sections. So the first section is just talking about what a great warrior is like. So so we're saying, hey, great warrior. How come Lao Tzu? I thought he was talking about the Tao. He's not talking about military strategy and tactics, right? So anyway, so we'll see that also. See that in chapter 69 and also future chapters 70, maybe 2, 70. I forgot something like that. Anyway, okay, all right. So he's talking about he's basically laying down his thesis here, and then the second chapter he's basically second half. Sorry, he just basically concluding what the first half meant. Okay, all right. So it's a relatively short chapter. Hopefully, I'll be done in roughly 60 minutes or so. Okay, let's go to the outline. Okay. So the outline is the first section. The first two phrases are: those who are great generals are not warlike. Those who are great warriors do not get angry. Okay, all right. Now this character. Okay, I mean it's been used in previous chapters, but it's not. It doesn't mean what it in the previous chapters. What it was used to mean. Okay, in previous chapters. All right. Okay. So like chapter 15 and 41. Okay, especially in 41. Well, yeah. I mean, okay. So in here, this is what it means. Like in chapter 41, remember, it says, those people who are at the higher level, when they hear the Tao, that's a sang si. Okay. Now, so it doesn't mean general, but in this case, it means general here because, all right. Okay. So here you guys can read this translation. All right. I mean, that's the meaning, the literal meaning, but actually, the deeper meaning is here. It just means those who are great cultivators, or who are skillful practitioners of the Tao. Not cultivators, but practitioners. People who are like Tao masters. Okay, so that's what it means. Okay, so I translate as generals here, but okay, because it goes in line with the second half. Okay, all right, about warriors. Okay. San, okay, who are great at battles. Okay, so the basic meaning is that the great generals are not military oriented, not warlike. So it seems like a contradiction, right? How can we say, if you're general, if you're not military like, if you're not warlike, right? If you don't want to fight. Okay, here, so here's here's where the pivot is, okay, or it's that if you use the metaphor as the great generals, that's a metaphor for skillful practitioners. So naturally, if you're a skillful practitioner of the Tao, you will not be warlike, right? Which is skillful practitioners of the Tao, that's Tao masters or sages, are not warlike because they do not engage in conflict, war, contention, debates, right? Not just physical conflict, but mental, verbal, etc. All right. Okay. So instead, skillful Tao cultivators, that's the great generals, engage in and use true principles. All right. Okay. So the second phrase is those who are great warriors do not get angry. It's that those who are skillful at waging war do not get angry. Okay. So all right. Okay. All right. Fine. But that's okay. Another one is that those who skilled in war are great warriors who are students of Tao do not use anger to motivate them. All right. Okay. So in ancient Chinese history, a lot of the great, you can say warriors, generals, warriors, they were all students of Tao, if believe it or not. Even if you go back during to the time of, roughly 2,500 or so, 2,500 plus years ago, during the time of Lao Tzu, there were, many great warriors, or you can say military strategists, generals, who also study the Tao. They don't just study, military strategies and tactics and the art of war. One example, and we can talk a little bit about that in chapter 69. As a matter of fact, the second or third phrases of chapter 69 is a not necessarily a direct quote, but it is the same principle or I could say principle teaching taken from a text manual that's like considered I don't want to say quote unquote the Bible of military strategy. Okay, it's called Sun Zi Bing Fa. Okay, so this person named Sun Zi, okay, Master Sun. That's a direct translation. Was also lived around also similar to the same time as Lao Tzu. Okay, roughly 6th century BC, 6 to 5, 550 BC or BCE. Okay, around that time, roughly the same time. It might even have preceded Lao Tzu. It depends. I mean, it depends on which source you look up, but roughly the same time. Anyway, so he wrote this text called Sun Zi Bing Fa. I mean, literal translation, Bing Fa means military tactics or strategies. Fa unlike the Buddhist Buddhist usage is sutra or teaching. So it just means the methods, the ways and means of military, military. Okay, military. But we translate it. It's been kind of like romanticized or poetic. Turn into a more poetic title, the art of war. There's no word art in Bing Fa. Okay, it's art would be yi su. Okay, well, for example, that would be one many in a Chinese equivalent of art. But anyway, it sounds more poetic. But Sun Tzu, when he wrote, when he put it down to writing, supposedly, anyway, he was also, believe it or not, a student of the Tao. Okay, so a lot of his strategies or tactics were following what the Tao in nature is like. Okay, so anyway, all right, so this is another important teaching of the art of war from Sun Tzu is that if you are a great warrior, you do not use anger. You do not, in other words, you do not use hatred or anger or rage, as in fighting. Okay, yeah. So that's an important. Okay, all right. So here is that those who are skilled in war are great warriors who are students of Tao do not use anger or rage to motivate them. And why would you say that? Why we say that those? Okay, so conversely, like today we see a lot of in the main in movies and stuff like that. You have great fighters who get very angry, right? Who use rage or anger or revenge to motivate them, right? So conversely, those who use anger are not considered great warriors. Why? So this is here's why. Just in chapter 67, remember the three treasures, okay? Right? What are the three treasures? The first one is what? Compassion, right? So instead of anger, great warriors use compassion because true courage is inspired from true compassion. Remember, with compassion, thus able to be courageous. That's a direct line from the I think it's the second one of the second to the last, I think second to the last, not second to the last, but the 12th phrase. It's in the last section, okay? The first subsection of the last section, okay? All right, okay, so it's from, okay? All right, so it's from chapter, okay, that's why. Okay, all right, so it's from, okay, some chapter 67, all right? Okay, so that's why, all right? So the great warriors of ancient times are really warriors of the Tao because they have true compassion. That's what makes them great, okay? Because they do have true, okay? And we talked about compassion last week, right? Already, we talked a little bit about compassion, right? Okay, all right? I don't have it here, and I don't have the, if you guys like you know, how's it relevant today? Like I think what 50, it's almost like 50 years ago. I think it's 50 years ago. Yes, 72. Yeah, that's 50 years ago. In 1972, one of the first, and that's sort of like that movie. I'm talking about movie now. That movie sort of like you can say was the harbinger, you know, the initiator or the creator of all future, we can say, martial arts. Well, at least in the West, you know, in Asia and Hong Kong, they already have martial arts movies. But he sort of set the, you know, he set in motion the martial arts element or aspect of the movies in movies in the West. Okay, and his name was Bruce Lee. Okay, so you know he was a kung fu artist, right? He was a kung fu artist. And he also studied the Tao. Okay, but anyway, okay. So in his movies, you know, he tried to portray, you know, the life, you know, how a martial arts, you know, fighter, you know, kung fu, you know, artist fight, but he would act, you know, follow the principles of Tao. Now, in the movie Enter the Dragon, I don't know if you guys, you know, remember that. It's 50 years ago. I think it's roughly 50 years ago. 72, I believe. 72, 74, something like that. Anyway, there was a section segment in as they were at this island, you know, where they're supposed to have the kung fu I don't know, tournament or something like that. You know, he explained why a kung fu master should fight with compassion rather than rage. I don't want to get into that line. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time. Okay, but you guys can look it up. Okay, that movie. All right. So that movie started the whole martial arts genre in the West, because previous to him, to Bruce Lee, there wasn't really. I mean, yeah, you have good cop, bad cop, you know, fighting stuff like that. I mean, sorry, good cop chasing robbers and stuff like that. You know, but they're not martial arts. Okay. Anyway, so anyway, all right. So just you guys, yes, that's and then he explained why, you know, you should fight when you're a kung fu, you know, student or a student of martial arts, you should have compassion rather than rage. Okay. Anyway, all right. So I just don't have time. Okay. So any great general warrior are also students of that because they understand the true source of courage, which is that skill and strength is from the Tao. Okay, so that's what Bruce Lee was trying to teach his student. Okay, that student. Anyway, so great generals are skillful Tao practitioners who do not engage in conflicts, debates, etc. That's why they're not warlike. So great warriors are warriors of the Tao who do not get angry, but have the feeling of compassion, which is the source of their courage. All right, so let's do the last two phrases of section 1. Those who are good at defeating enemies do not engage them. Those who are good at managing people lower themselves. So, you know, it's like, you know, this is like a contradiction, you know. How do you defeat enemies? By not engaging them. See, that's that's also being taught in the Sun Tzu Bing Fa, okay, by the way, all right? Because like the greatest victory or something, I forgot the exact quote, but he's something like the greatest skill in fighting, in warfare, is not to have to fight at all. It's to defeat your enemies without fighting them. Yeah, so this is very similar to that. All right, okay, so all right, that's in Sun Tzu Bing Fa too. All right, okay, anyway, so the basic meaning is that those who are skillful in defeating enemies, okay, do not engage in confrontations. So that's what it means. Okay, do not engage them. All right. So okay. So yeah, now, but there's a reason for that. We'll get to that. Okay. So basically, it's another way of saying, like in contemporary era, in modern day, is that, I'm not going to get into this fight with you, or I'm not going to get into this, mess with you. I'm not going there with you. I'm not going down that path, that path of confrontation or, fighting and stuff like that. I'm not interested in getting into your petty back and forth or tit for tat. Okay. So yeah, that's another way of saying, okay. I mean, modern day equivalent. All right. So another way, additionally, it means if the other party is contentious, willing to, want to, to engage in conflict, if you will, or verbal conflict, not just physical, or wants to drag you into conflict, you do not have to let yourself be dragged down. You have a choice. So the key is, don't be trapped. Okay, don't be trapped by others, because sometimes you're not in control, right? By others into going down that path of contention, okay, or conflict, okay, because you have a choice. All right, believe it or not, you have a choice. All right. And the further understanding is that, why do you have a choice? Because ultimately, you are sovereign. Okay, you are a king, like a king, right? Remember, you're like a king, all right? That is the Buddha nature in the Tao is important, all right? Okay, this is where sovereign, the Buddha nature, our Buddha nature in the Tao is important, because you have the choice to not engage in confrontation. The authority or the power rests with you, all right? So now we're going to go into some deeper metaphors, okay? Because these are metaphors, all right? So, enemy, does not mean just in war, okay? For war, the enemy or your opponent, okay? There's a higher level meaning that Lao Tzu wants to get at, all right? Okay, so there's an internal side to this, okay? What is the internal side, okay? So the adversary or enemy or opponent is the metaphor for all the negativity in our mind, okay, or in ourselves, and all the negative characteristics, traits, negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative emotions, etc. So our desires, emotions, attachments, ego, okay, greed, rage, demons, all the non-Tao-like qualities. That's what the enemies meant, okay, in what Lao Tzu mean by enemies, not the external physical enemy opponent, okay. So what he meant by defeating enemies, what Lao Tzu is saying, defeating enemies means to overcome. You can say defeat, overcome, or vanquish one's desires and emotions, to relinquish, let go of one's ego, attachments, greed, rage, etc. Okay, negativity, all the negative stuff. Okay, so that's what Lao Tzu is saying. Those who are good, and so this ties in with the first half, which is great. When we say great, when he said great generals, I mean are the skillful practitioners of the Tao. Okay, skillful practitioners of the Tao are good at defeating their internal enemies. Okay, and what do we mean by not engagement? That means you don't go down into that tit for tat, back and forth. You don't do that. Okay, you kind of like let them go, ignore them. Okay, you kind of like ignore them. All right. Okay, that's how you defeat them. Okay, so this also, I think I talked about this in chapter 66, right? So he said, so it's the same thing as the Buddha nature does not seek contention. Buddha nature never seeks contention. It always yields. Remember, that's the yin-like quality, the yin quality, right? Is that we say it's more, I don't say timid, but it tends to retreat. It tends to back off. It doesn't assert itself like the yang quality. The yang quality is very assertive, right? Very assertive, very all right, very self-affirming. That's right. Whereas the yin quality is sense to like to relinquish, yield. It's more yielding. Whereas the yang is more want to take charge, okay, right? Or want to charge ahead. Whereas, so the Buddha nature has that yin-like quality, which is it does not like to seek contention. It never does. It always yields. It always lets, yields, give up, give. It always retreats, withdraws. Okay, so you will be able to overcome your enemies. Okay, why is that the Buddha nature overcome the enemy by yielding. So it's like, okay, it's so remember chapter 66, rivers and oceans, because they, that's the sages, do not contend, so the world cannot contend with them, right? Remember, right? Okay, so last two phrases, last line of last two phrases, okay? All right, okay, so then the second half, the fourth phrase is what's the fourth phrase means? It's here, okay? Now, this is on the external level, is because those who are skillful in managing people, that's the utilizing part, people, they are humble, okay? That's what it means, by being lower, by lower themselves. Those who are good at managing people lower themselves, okay? So in today's world, for example, contemporary society, skillful managers of people are not arrogant in assuming that they are more capable than everybody else. So they are able to delegate authority and empower others to utilize their talents fully. Okay, that's what I mean. All right. So skillful managers, they're not arrogant. They say, hey, you know, I'm your boss. I know everything. I know more than you, right? I'm more capable than you. And so therefore, you know, you guys have to, you know, do as I say or follow as I say. That's a power leadership position. Remember we did about the servant leadership, right? Previous in I think chapter 66, right? Okay. So anyway, so they are very humble. They yield. They say, hey, they rather empower the employees to do their best. Okay. So he's able to delegate them. So the employees are willing to do their to apply their talents, or you know, that's called utilizing their talent. Okay. So now this phrase echoes the emphasis on chapter 67 on servant leadership. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Regarding the virtues of the Tao, that though the goal is not to assume the facade of humility in this case, but to embody its virtue. Okay. Yeah, you don't do it for, you know, appearance sake, but actually you practice it, you display it. Okay. All right. Okay. So now that's the external. So this is all external side, right? External about utilizing, right? Utilizing people's talents, you know, okay. All right. And being humble. Internally is this, okay. Internally is, okay, I'm going to have to, okay. Internally is this, is that if you are truly at one with the virtue of humility, then you are virtuous naturally. You are humble naturally. You do not have to keep reminding yourself to be humble, knowing you will slip up if you forget, right? So it's like the greatest virtue, you know, this is chapter 38. Okay, the greatest virtue is the greatest virtue. For he says high virtue. High virtue is the greatest because it is not virtuous, right? So it's not using the title virtuous. Okay, so it's like saying people, you know, have you heard the phrase virtue signaling, right? People signal that they, hey, you know, I'm virtuous, you know, I'm better than these people or whatever. Okay, then that means you're not virtuous. So that means, yeah, because that's a facade. Because you have to, you know, because the very fact that you have to tell people or show people that you're virtuous means that you lost high virtue. You're not really virtuous. Okay, so that's okay. All right. So that's why, you know, in terms of humility, right? Humility, you cannot keep reminding yourself, oh, I have to be humble. I have to be humble. So therefore, I must be humble. No, that's not it. Then that's not true humility. Okay. So because if you stop reminding yourself being humble, then you're going to slip up, right? So that's not true humility. So we have to treat people from all different levels of society with the same respect. Okay. Now you are being, but how do we maintain our humility in this case? Okay, in this case, we're talking about humility. You know, the chapter 38 talking about virtue in general, right? You know, very generic, okay, very broad. Now here we're talking more specific about humble, okay, humility. Humble. So how do you remain humble without having to remind yourself being humble? Okay, and just remember. So the key is not using our human intellect, human nature to remind ourselves. That's the key. That's the key. We cannot rely on or depend on human nature, because human nature is fallible. It's fallible. It's not infallible. Okay, it's not perfect. All right, because there's an yin and yang, right? There's an yin and yang aspect, okay, to human nature. So therefore, you cannot rely on human. But what can you rely on? And so you are being to rely on our own conscience at all times. You are watched by it. And so that's where the, previous chapters, we talk about return to the simplicity, right? The simplicity of the Tao, Pu, right? Pu, simplicity, okay? The Pu is, okay. The more general level Pu, simplicity, means the non-conditioned nature of our Buddha, of the essence, of the Tao essence of our Buddha nature. The more specific and narrower is that you have a conscience, is to have a conscience, okay? That state, you can say state of awareness, a conscience. We'll talk about that in chapter 69, but anyway, all right, okay. Now, here's a story, I'm halfway through, okay. Here's a story, okay? It's a story of here's the story, Wei Yue Guan. That means the moon is watching. The moon is watching. I think this is it's a Tao story. Okay, I'm gonna go through it very quick. It shouldn't take us a few minutes. Okay, anyway, okay. Once upon a time in ancient China, there was a poor man and his family. Okay, they were very poor. Okay, he couldn't find work. Okay, there was no work. I mean, or he wasn't very how can I say? I don't say he was very. He was not well educated. Okay, number one, he doesn't have a lot of the skills like of skills of a farmer or whatever, for craftsman or anything. So so anyway, so one day he got really fed up. Being poor. He just couldn't. He just couldn't take it anymore. So he said to his family, he said, tonight, and it just happens to be have a full moon. Okay, there's a full moon, so that's why there's the moon. Okay, okay, there's a full moon that night. Okay, anyway, okay, all right. Because don't forget, ancient days there are no street lights and stuff like that. Okay, anyway, all right. So he said to his family, this is bad. We can't continue like this. I finally decided I'm going to do something about our poverty. The fact that we are always, going hungry. Okay, we can't have a decent meal. Never mind 3 meals a day. Okay, so I'm going to do something about it. And and under this full moon, I'm gonna be able to do that. So he said to his son, he has a son. He said, son, I want you to come along with me to help me get this done, and I need you not to help me, not to do what I'm gonna do, but to help me keep watch. Okay, you'll be the lookout. You'll be my lookout so that I can do what I need to do. Okay, so they say. So he took his son, and they sneaked to a farmer's orchard. Don't forget, right? It was dark, but there was a full moon, right? Okay, so they can make their way. So they're at the outside. They're near the orchard now. They're about to, I don't know if there's a fence or something, but they're gonna. They're just hiding the brushes, just right at the edge of the orchard, and they're just waiting, watching to make sure that there were nobody around. Okay, all right, they're outside, and so the father said to the son, I want you to come with me. Okay, I don't want you to take anything, but you just stand watch, hide among the orchard trees. Okay, and keep a lookout. Make sure that the farmer or the farmers security people or the farmers workers are not there's nobody moving around looking for watching, and then I can go and take some of these fruits, okay, and bring it back, okay, for us to eat. All right, and make sure nobody's watching. Okay, so as they were about to go into the orchard, the sun, and it was dark, but then there was the bright moon, okay, the full moon. The sun nodded and agreed, nodded, understood what he has to do. But he also looked around and happened to look at the sky and say, wow, admiring the full moon. So he said to his father, yeah, even though it looks like there's nobody here, but Dad, it looks like the moon is also watching us. so when the father heard these words from his son, something about those words, resonated in him. Okay, he said, yeah. Even though there may be nobody, no humans around, the farmer's workers, et cetera, weren't watching. But you know what? The moon is always watching. It's like sort of like watching. Now, I think the sun meant that, the sun is protecting us, watching over us too. But anyway, but doesn't matter. Okay, so then, certainly those words, really clicked in the farmer's mind. And then he realized, damn, what am I doing? Do I have to resort to being a thief, to feed my family, to overcome my hunger, Yeah, this is something not, this is not, not the right way to resolve his problem, his poverty. So then instead of, going into the orchard, bringing his son along, he said to his son, son, yeah, you're right. The moon was watching, is watching. Let's not do this. Let's go back home. Let's go back, So they left. Okay, so instead of going into steal, okay, something turned in it. So, so you can say that's conscience, right? His conscience, or his, it's awakened, okay, his awareness, right? His elevated, elevate his awareness. But anyway, but unbeknownst to the poor man and his son, there was somebody watching besides the moon. Okay, a farmer, because the farmer had been plagued, with theft all the time, and also it's near the harvest time. It's very close. All the orchard trees are full with fruits. I don't know if it's apples, pears, plums, whatever. Okay. Anyway, so he he wanted to keep a watch. At night, particularly at night, knowing that, hey, under this full moon, there could be potentially people coming in and try to, pillage his orchard. So he was hidden in the shadows underneath, in some brushes in the orchard, and he was watching, and he was very close to where the poor man and his son were hiding, and he overheard everything that they said. Okay, so he was like, okay, he was very happy that, hey, yeah, under this full moon, it's sort of like it's a sentinel. The full moon was like a guard, like a sentry. Prevented the potential thieves, the poor man and son from stealing, fruits from his orchard. So he was very happy. So he made sure that there was nobody else was around and coming. So he then went back to his house, to his wife, and then he told his wife what happened. He goes, I'm glad, I didn't have to hire, a lot of farm workers keep watch at night, prevent, poor people or thieves from robbing his harvest, his fruits. So he said, I'm glad that the moon, that this full moon tonight was watchful, was watching over, my orchard, watching everybody. And then his wife just smiled and said, maybe the moon was watching you too. So anyway, so the farmer just, didn't say anything, and they called it a night. So the very next morning, the farmer woke up, and something from his wife's words, saying, hey, maybe the moon is watching me too. So something, resonated with him too, right? With those words. So he said, it's getting to be harvest time very soon. Maybe in the next couple of days, I have to start harvesting the fruit. If I don't get enough people to help me to take down these fruits, a lot of them will overripe and fall from the tree and become spoiled. And that means, I won't make as much money. Okay. So so you know what? I'm gonna try to hire more workers. And you know what? That poor person last night that he heard, maybe I could get him to work for me, during the harvest season. At least, it'll be a part-time gig, but that's fine. At least, it'll give, provide, it'll help him to provide food for his family. Okay. So he went to the poor neighborhoods, he went near the town, and he found that poor man. Okay. And so he approached the poor man and say, hello, I would like to, speak with you. And the poor man was really surprised. I said, oh, darn, maybe, this farmer, did see me, at the orchard, or when I wanted to, call the police to arrest me or whatever. Okay, so he reluctantly said that, yeah, he was at the, admitted that, he was at the orchard last night, but he didn't do anything. So, and the farmer said, yeah, I know, you didn't steal anything. So I wasn't here to come to, to punish you or whatever. Okay, but you know what? I have a proposition. It's almost harvest time, and I don't have enough farm workers to collect my harvest. I want you and your, if your son is willing, or all your, friends can come and work for me and help me collect, the harvest, the fruits, and I will, for every, I don't know, 10 bushels of fruits that you collect, you get to keep one. Okay, so how's that? How's that? You can at least, it's temporary during the harvest season, but you know what? At least you can, learn something, and maybe, and also, be able to feed you and your family. So how'd you like? So the the poor man, eagerly agreed, say, yeah, yeah, sure, it can alleviate my. So anyway, so the story goes that, as soon as harvest season arrived in a couple of days, they were able to harvest. The farmer was able to get a lot of people, like the poor people, like the father, to help him, gather all the fruits, and they were able to harvest more than what the farmer had harvested in previous seasons. Okay, so then he after the harvest season, his wife, he would tell his wife that, I'm glad that I was out there under the full moon that night a few nights ago, because I'm able to get more help to help me harvest all the fruits, and now we're able to get more than what he had done in the previous harvest, and this is going to be a very bountiful season for them. Okay, and that he was very happy that the full moon was watching everybody. Okay, in the story. All right, so sorry it took a little bit long, but anyway, the whole story is that the moon, in this case, it's not a happy ending story about a farmer and a poor person and everything, and everything ends up okay. That's not that. Okay, it doesn't mean that. What the key thing is the key character, or it's the moon. It's the full moon, and the full moon represents, so you can say the farmer, the old man, represents humans in society, in different positions, in different lots, okay, different positions in life, and struggling. You can say struggling with life, or dealing with life, dealing with problems in life. But then there was something that's always watching all of us. Okay, each one of us has that something, or someone. Okay, in this case, it's the moon. It's represented by the moon. So the moon, the full moon in this case, represents our conscience. Okay, that all of us has that conscience. So whether we think it, say it, do it. Okay, whatever we think, say, and do, you might think that, oh, nobody knows. Yeah, nobody's watching. Nobody knows. But actually, someone does know. It's your conscience. Okay, so that's the moral of the story. So now this story this is one example. There are many examples. Okay, so it corresponds to, quote, hesitant like crossing a wintry level, cautious like fearing the nearest or the four neighbors, unquote. Okay, so that's from where? Way back. Let's go way back. Chapter 6 and 7. Phrases 6 and 7 from chapter 15, not overflowing. Okay, so you guys can look it up. All right, so it just means that. Okay, so what that means is these two phrases are a description of the Tao sage. They're the description of a Tao sage. Okay, so all right, so that is the sage or you can say the skillful practitioner, the Tao master, skillful practitioner, the Tao, behaves or conducts themselves as if the four neighbors, that's a little translation, four neighbors, okay, are monitoring the sage's behavior all the time. When in reality, when in reality, it is only one's conscience that is observing. So the Tao sage wants to be true to him or herself at all times. Okay. All right. So that, this very corresponds very similar to I think it was the it's the Analects. Yeah. That in Confucian Analects that said, now he's talking about Tao cultivator. So Junzi, the superior person, the advanced Tao cultivator is very careful with himself or herself when they are alone, right? When they are alone, when they're by themselves, okay? Because once again, when you think you're by yourself, nobody's watching you, right? Nobody's watching you, you have to be especially careful in your thoughts, words, and conduct. Okay, so that's what the Analect said. Okay, so similar, very, very similar to this. Okay, same idea. It's because why? Because when you're alone, you might think, that's when your human nature kicks in, and you say, hey, yeah, nobody's watching, so I can, think whatever I want, say whatever I want, do whatever I want, right? And nobody knows any wiser. Nobody's any wiser. Well, yes, there is. Okay, there is at least your conscience that's observing. Okay. So that's why. I mean, now in the Tao, in the Tao, we also say that there is the heaven, the earth, and you. Okay, you meaning your conscience, your Buddha nature, your Buddha, knows. Okay, yeah. So anyway, all right. So, but this is just one example. Okay, now there's a deeper meaning of 善用人. Literally, right? 善用人 literally means good at. Now, literally, the literal meaning of this, the middle character means to use, to utilize. Now, so it doesn't mean that, good at utilizing people. It doesn't mean that, okay? It doesn't mean that. That's a literal translation. It's just a metaphor for thoughts that are in accord with one's conscience, one's true self or Buddha nature, thoughts that conform to the Tao. That's the higher level meaning, the internal, okay? So that means, the sages, at least the skillful Tao practitioners, right? They are good. They're good at managing people means that they're humble, but also their thoughts conform to the Tao. Okay, so they're humble. Okay, all right. So the implication at the external level is that, okay, for these first four phrases is that being sovereign is to have the Buddha nature be the master, okay? Which means you are able to rule over your own destiny and not give that power to other people. This signifies your awareness of your power to make the choice to not engage in contention. We must be aware of the tendency to engage in social competition as well and must not be engaged in it, okay? So on the internal side, it's, okay, those who are good at defeating enemies, that's the negative thoughts or in your mind or the negative mind, and good at managing their thoughts, that's good at using people. Okay, that's what managing thoughts. Do not let others know their inner feelings, okay, or literally substance. They do not show their negative emotions or let their emotions control them, okay, especially when they're alone. Okay, all right. This switch from the military in the first three phrases to managing people, Lao Tzu was using the military theme to talk about life, so he's using the art of war, principles to talk about life. That's a metaphor for the battles and little wars that we fight in everyday life, not actual warfare, but life as a metaphorical battlefield. All right, okay. So the key point. Oh God, I'm losing time here. Okay, so by having Buddha nature being charged is to be a sovereign. You always have the power and choice to avoid contention with others. Other people do not have the power to make you depressed, but you can give them the power to depress you. All right. So we should think like that. Okay. Don't think that the other people can make you depressed. Don't think that, but rather you have the power to make yourself depressed. Okay. So once you realize this, you can take back that power and not let others make you depressed or you just fill in the blank, make you angry, mad, whatever. Okay. So, all right. So the choice is yours. You are a sovereign. That means you are your own power. You have your own ability. Okay, you are your sovereign. Okay, you're not a slave. Okay, so you have the power to rule over yourself. The skillful managers of people are not arrogant. Instead, they are humble. So the goal in Tao is to embody its virtues, for example, such as humility, by being one with the virtue, okay, with the virtue of humility. Then you possess the virtue naturally. This is called high virtue, chapter 38, all right? Okay, so let's talk about summary very quick here. Okay, summary, part one, okay? So, well, there are two aspects to this section. First section, that's the virtue of non-contention. Okay, so the first one is this: is those who are good at defeating enemies do not engage them. What does that mean? It means to be skillful in winning everyday conflicts and refrain from engaging in petty squabbles, contention. All right, and the key is you have to disengage your ego. And this is just partial list. Is what is that? Ego includes the need to look good, for appearance's sake, right? To your vanity, right? And the need for debates. You say, oh, I'm smarter than you, so I'm more knowledgeable than you, so therefore, I'm gonna debate with you to show you, what I know, or that, whatever, I'm smarter, whatever. Or the need to compare, a mind of differentiation. I'm better than you, or whatever, I'm smarter than you, whatever. Okay. All right. Then there's the second part is those who are good at managing people lower themselves. So what does that mean? It means to be skillful in managing people, refrain from putting on airs. Now there's the higher level, means to be skillful in managing or utilizing our thoughts, right? Our thoughts. Okay. All right. Okay. So lower our profile. This is the external now. These are external here. Okay. So whenever we are engaged in a conversation, we should never focus on ourselves. We should always put the focus on someone else. Okay. And also we should provide feedback that is sincere and specific. Okay. Don't be very generic or general or vague. Don't be intentionally vague, and you don't do it for malicious intentions, right? But you have to be sincere in wanting to to provide them with guidance so that they can become better themselves. Okay. So, and also you have to be approachable and humble. You cannot be arrogant. Definitely. Okay. You cannot be arrogant. You have to be humble. All right. Okay. So let's go back. All right. Let's go back. So we're going to go to second half now, section 2. Okay. All righty. Okay. So let's go to section 2. All right. So it is called the virtue of non-contention. It is called the power of managing people. All right. So, okay. So non-contention. Okay. This word here is non-contention. This is non-contention. Okay. There's a higher level meaning. It means not to vie for fame and benefit. Okay. Not to contend for anything, not even contend with words. Okay. So, all right. Okay. So the external meaning is that for the Tao cultivator, this means you do not pick fights, not because you suppress your anger or exercise discipline of yourself, but because you are a person of peace, a non-violent person. Peace or non-violence comes natural to you, right? So at the lower level, yes, we are peaceful because we suppress our anger, or we constrain ourselves, right? Or we control our rage. Okay, anger. See, that's the lower level. That's lower level. So that's relying still on your human nature aspect, in this case, the positive side, okay? So that's not the most reliable. The most reliable is you have to rely on your Buddha nature, on the Tao, okay? And that's because the Tao naturally is yielding, it's peaceful, it's humble, it's not violent, right? Okay, it's not aggressive. So that's the yin-like trait, okay? The yin-like trait, okay? All right, so therefore it's natural. So if we use the Tao, if we use our Buddha nature, let our Buddha, or conscience, you can say conscience, okay? Be our sovereign, be our arbiter, let it be our master. Then you naturally are peaceful. Make sense? Okay. So you don't rely on that human nature, right? So, okay. So another aspect is that, on the other hand, but this does not mean that you are a punching bag, that people will walk all over you. Okay, you should still protect yourself when things get rough. Okay, so that's where the wisdom comes in. But anyway, all right. So that's another story. Okay, but anyway, all right. So it doesn't mean one extreme to another. Okay, so it doesn't mean that. All right. Okay, so it just means that beyond just not starting a conflict or not being an instigator of conflict, this also means being a peacemaker. So that's the next step, is that not only are you don't engage in conflict, or naturally do not like to contend, okay, or be the instigator, but you also are a peacemaker. Be the one to bring the peace. When there's conflict, you're the one to bring about peace. Okay, so that's the second half. Okay, peace. Okay, now external. Now let's do the internal side. The internal side is is that in the Tao, the ultimate general or warrior is not the one who defeats the most enemies. In case, so internal, it means the most negative mind, okay, negative thoughts, okay, but the one who has mastered the art of turning enemies into allies, that is to transform a negative mind or thoughts into a Tao-centric mind or thought. Get it? Okay, so that's the ultimate warrior. This is internal, okay, in the battle within our minds, okay, within ourselves, okay. So the skillful Tao practitioners are like great warriors who are not angry, and are not vengeful, okay, and are able to transform the negative minds, that's to defeat your enemies, into calm and tranquil minds, that's the allies and friends, because they are in accordance with their true nature, Buddha nature, and conscience, okay. So the deeper meaning of non-contention is come from previous chapter, to be in accord with one's conscience, to follow one's Buddha nature, to be in harmony with all, okay, that's in chapter 55, okay. All right, so let's talk about the second half. It is called the power of managing people. All right, so externally, what it means is using people or utilizing people means delegating properly, matching skills and abilities that with tasks that need to be done. That's the proper management of a team, or so it doesn't mean to use people, okay, not the literal meaning, okay, I mean okay, in this case. All right, okay, so what it means here is that does not mean manipulating or taking advantage of people. It means to harness the power of others, or the talents of others, or the skill of others, okay, by not contending with others. So yeah, by not contending or competing against them, you are able to use or utilize their skills, okay, or their power, okay, all right. So when a team comes together in a spirit of harmony through proper management, there's nothing it cannot accomplish. So right, we see that at work, all types, okay, in society, all right. The key is that there has to be that spirit of cooperation, of harmony, all right, okay. So now internally, what does that mean? What this means about power managing people, right? It just means the power of managing our thoughts is the power of managing people is a metaphor for being one with the virtue of humility, where our thoughts, that's the people, are in accord with your conscience and true self. Okay, so that's what it means. So that's what it means, that you are good at utilizing people. All right. So the implication is this. All right. So here at the external level is, why is it better to turn your enemies into allies than to destroy them? Okay. Right. Number one, at least two reasons. One, the destruction of enemy creates the possibility of subsequent vengeance, so that the creation of enemy eliminates that possibility, right? So that's why, the creation of an ally. So rather than destroying an enemy, because the enemy will never be 100% completely wiped out. There always will be some, that either hides or you cannot find, et cetera, et cetera. So that will be the seeds of future conflict and potentially your future destruction. Okay, so that's the vicious cycle. Okay, so of always trying to crush or annihilate your enemy. Okay, instead, if you turn them into your ally, then there's no possibility of future conflict or vengeance. Okay, so second, at best, the second reason, at best, the subjugation of an enemy results in hidden, lingering resentment, right? Okay, so that's similar to the Buddhist concept of perpetuating karmic retribution. Okay, so that's how you get, you keep perpetuating the cycle of karmic retribution. Okay, so while an ally can become a powerful asset to your cause, right? We talked about this in chapter 61, I think, right? 61. Okay, ruling and 61 or 60, 61 and 60, I think it's 60, talking about, no, 61 or 60, ruling a kingdom. Okay, ruling a kingdom, 60. Okay, all right. Okay, anyway, all right. So, but that's external. Internally, what does that mean? Okay, internally, it just means you transform one's negative thoughts or mind, that's the enemies, into a Tao-centric mind to be in harmony with the Tao. Okay, so the key point is here is that Externally, by embodying the virtues of non-contention and humility naturally, you are able to bring about peace and harness the power of people in a harmonious manner. On the internal side, you will have calm, peaceful, and tranquil thoughts. That's the people in your mind. This is to emulate the Tao, a reflection of the Tao externally and internally. All right, okay, so now with the last two phrases, almost there. It is called, called the virtue of non-contention, the virtue of non-contention and the power of managing people is called being harmonious with heaven, the ultimate principle of the ancients. That's the being in harmony. Okay, that's the ultimate principle. Okay, so it is called matching heaven. That's what literally these two words mean. Okay, literally it means matching heaven. Okay, literally. All right, right here, match. Okay, now, all right, okay. It also means to be harmony. Okay, to harmonize. Okay, so anyway, okay, it is also called matching heaven because you're being in harmonious alignment with the heaven, which is the highest principle of the ancients. Heaven in this context refers to the Tao. Okay, represents the Tao. Okay, so this is being in harmony with Tao. This is learning from the wisdom of the ancients, and this principle is identified as being first and foremost in the Tao. Okay, on the external side, what does that mean? It means that to embody the virtue of non-contention by managing people with humility and utilizing their talents properly is called being harmonious with heaven. This is the highest principle or the wisdom of the ancients. Okay, so further understanding is that by embodying the virtue of non-contention, managing people with humility and utilizing their talents properly for the benefit of everyone, by not engaging in petty squabbles with people, by not attacking others out of anger or rage, right, or hatred, by not being warlike, but promoting peace instead. All of these together is harmonious with heaven. They are harmonious with Tao. Okay, so the implication is this: it's to match heaven is being able to have a mind harmonious with heaven or the Tao. This is to achieve the highest conduct of the ancients. Okay, so let's go to summary, part 2. Okay, so advice on how not to initiate conflict or be dragged into a contention. So there are three things. I mean, you could do more, but these are the 3 basic elements. First, let go of aggression. We do not you should not be aggressive at all. Okay, so in an act of aggression, there's always much anger and arrogance. We definitely have to watch about, right? Because if you're aggressive, you have some sort of anger, rage, right? Okay, so that's, and also you can be arrogant too. You can think you're better than them, stronger than whatever. Okay, so we have to be careful. Then the second is let go of anger. Okay, because anger is actually a mask worn by fear. Actually, when you're angry, it's because you are fearful. You have a fear. Okay, you have a fear. And also, okay, you can have some ignorance too. Okay, so that's where we have to be careful. All right. Then third is let go of arrogance. Okay, so because arrogance is the ego that's overcompensating for an insecurity, something that you're not secure, you're insecure, or you lack confidence. Okay, lack self-confidence or lack confidence, believe it or not. Okay, so we have to let go of those. Okay, so let go of all these. All right, aggression, anger, arrogance. There's just more, but these are the 3 basic elements. Okay, that we can start out with. All right, so we're near the end now. Okay, folks. So I'm gonna go over like 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, so the key point is this. Oops, the key point is this. You guys can still hear me, right? Okay, good. All right. Okay. So the key point is this. All right. Okay. So where are we? Okay. So key point is this. Sorry. Okay. So the hell's going on here? Okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. The key point is this. On the internal side, I'm talking about internal side now. To overcome negativity in the mind, having humble thoughts and utilize them properly is being in harmony with heaven, being harmonious with Tao. This is the highest principle of the ancients. This is called non-contention. Right? So this is being able to attain the most ideal state. So this chapter points out a key point. By learning from the ancients, the principles of peace, compassion, non-aggression, humility, and harmony as being the ultimate principle, as being above everything else, as being the first and foremost in the Tao. Okay, so this, okay, connects back to the first line of this chapter, where as generals and warriors of the Tao. That's the metaphor for skillful Tao practitioners. They are followers of peace, not war, where they are motivated by compassion and commitment, not anger, not rage, not hatred, okay? Where they realize the best way to win any conflict, external or internal, is not to fight, not to contend at all, where the great leaders always act from a heart of humility, not arrogance, okay? So this is called the virtue of non-contention. That is a principle, not only for the battlefield, but also for the journey of life, whereby managing people with or having thoughts of humility, and utilizing their talents or utilizing our thoughts properly for the benefit of everyone. These are the ultimate principles of heaven. This is called matching heaven. This is called being harmonious with the Tao. And this is called non-contention. Okay, I'm sorry I went over a little bit, but anyway, so this concludes chapter 68. It's a very short, nice, short chapter. The key point is non-contention. So this is one of the key pillars, principles of the Tao Te Ching. All right. Okay. So this is a very key theme. Okay. All right. So that's all I have to say. If I said things that are incorrect and wrong, I ask for the Buddha's and Lao Tzu's guidance and forgiveness and everybody's guidance. Okay. Thank you.